Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to The Element Podcast.
Tonight, I need you by my side. Hold on to me and keep me in the light. And when the shadows get long and the whippoorwill song is so loud that it hurts, I need to be with you tonight so I can stay on the bright side of the earth.
What's happening, all my woods people? That is new music right there, if I do say so myself. It is myself singing tunes off of the first wave of a new album that I am releasing. That is Bright Side of the Earth, which is the actual album, the track title. So we're on the bright side of the earth right now. It's bright outside, Casey.
It is, man. I just saw some blue bonnets, and I saw some of the white varieties of blue bonnets, which was
I
kind of...
love those, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I like the white Indian paintbrushes a lot.
Yeah, those are neat.
I used to think, we used to live, when I first moved out to Lake Fork area, we lived in a pasture, a cow pasture, Bermuda pasture. I don't know how many acres, a few acres. Back then, everything seemed gigantic, when you were small. But it would literally, this time of year, it would start to just pop out in a red carpet. And so I would go out there, obviously walk down. We lived on this lot was on the lake. And so we would, I'd fish like every day of my life pretty much out there. And on my way down, I would look for white Indian paintbrushes, man. And they're a rarity. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know, like, are they albino?
I don't think albinism applies to plants. I think
Really?
it's just an animal feature.
Okay.
So.
Albino is, that makes sense, kind of, because it's a melanin issue, I guess, right? Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, I always called them albino ones because I thought that was cooler,
that was neat, yeah. Albinos are cool, man.
Yeah. Anyway, man, we talking about the bright side of the earth. We're in a bright, sunshiny day right now on the way home from having an incredibly bright weekend as far as like spirits go. Man,
Mm-hmm.
like golly, what a time we had, man.
Yep, that's a good opener. Best opener I've ever had. Maybe, yeah, most definitely. Not the only, but that's definitely the best opener of turkey season ever, man. Like,
That's
that
cool.
was just, I mean, we're going to dive into this pretty far, but I've never experienced that kind of turkey hunting, the kind where, like, you're doing what you see Will Primos do on TV. Harold and,
Dale?
No.
Not Dale.
no,
David.
David and Harold. There we go. Yeah, David and Harold style, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I'm supposed to be turning him right here.
That's right.
Yeah, I will figure it out.
Anyway,
Anyways.
so yeah, we went on a turkey hunt. We got basically permission from a friend of a friend kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy, but there still are Texas landowners out there that are generous. How about that?
How about that, man?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy knows us, man, or doesn't know us, and he's his friend was out there the first night, our buddy Drew, and we got to hang out and have that camaraderie and do a little fishing, man. It was just like the best, just release, like a retreat of a weekend,
Yeah, sure. And it was cool because, we do things really hard sometimes, pretty often actually, with the camping out thing, and a lot of times our adventures are even backcountry, overnight kind of things.
Public land.
Yeah, and this, we stayed in a ranch house. you
Yeah.
know. Not that it was like the fanciest thing ever or anything, but it was really nice,
Yeah.
and there was a TV
Well
and
kept,
a refrigerator and
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
it was legit.
Yeah,
man.
we cooked. We made ceviche, which we didn't even need we only needed a fridge for that, really.
Yeah.
Might not even needed that. It got cold this weekend.
It did.
Our spirits were, it was a true roller coaster every weekend, I think. Like people talk about it all the time, but this is a definite, as far as like temperatures and spirits and everything, like we show up, right? And it's like, we're kind of this is a really heavily populated area of Texas as far as turkeys go. And so, which there are a lot of those places in Texas, and we just don't happen to live in one. But we show up and we end up, it's a beautiful day, like upper 70s probably.
Oh, yeah.
And sunshiny.
Birds are going crazy.
Winds are light and variable.
Yeah.
It's just the perfect day. And so we end up fishing on the Brazos River, which is part of the property, joins the Brazos River, the Clear Fork there, and we're fishing for sand bass, really. And there's a ton of gar rolling, and it's just like we're just waiting for a gobble to pop off at any time, And turns out we didn't hear any turkeys, and we sent some calls down the river and stuff, and just to see if we could get anything to pop off, and nothing did. You caught a gar?
I did catch a gar, yeah.
Yep.
On a little rattle trap, I think, or something.
Yeah, and I did a lot of filming in the beginning, and then got out there with a fly rod, which probably wasn't the most effective means of getting things done. I think I got a couple of bites from gar, but there are a lot of long-nosed gar in there, and hooking one of them in the mouth is going to be extremely difficult with a single hook fly, I think.
It's pretty much extremely difficult with anything.
Yeah.
I, in fact, did not hook mine in the mouth, so
Yeah.
it's all right. That's what happens. Those gar will like swipe at it, and they just don't get hooked, but you end up side hooking them or something.
Right. Yeah. But it was. We were like super juiced up about the turkey coming in. We end up like getting super relaxed and doing the fishing thing. But then we're like, man, we should have tried to roost some birds instead, maybe. And we had like 20 minutes left of daylight, and Drew starts showing us around the place, and it's a beautiful property. This is one of those ones you see in a Texas real estate magazine, and you're like, can I just have it? And anyway, right at dark, we go to one of the last places on the ranch that we were going to, and he's like, I want to show you this little lookout over the river. It's awesome. It's basically, they call it some deer blind, but it's really, I don't think you would shoot deer out of it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever shot a deer out of it. It's just this huge overlook on the river. And as soon as we pop up over this
crowns
ridge,
of our heads.
Yeah, it was like, as soon as that visual happened for these birds down in the river bottom, it was like, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's when the stoke factor went real high.
Yeah, it did. And it actually probably kind of changed it definitely gave us a direction for the next morning, you know?
Yeah, it did.
And I honestly, I did wonder about it, but I know Drew was hyped up about it, and you were, and I was too. I thought, well, we also knew that there were what we thought were hens on our side. It was too dark to really tell, but there were turkeys on our side that weren't making any gobbles. Mm-hmm. And so we were like, well, maybe these gobs will fly across to these hens in the morning and be on our property or be close, and we can set up in this corner of the property, pull them over, right, with some calls.
Yeah, and we didn't do a great job of like figuring the place out, before dusk. So we didn't have a lot of direction, and that was like the one thing we could cling to, minus just looking at the map and being like, oh, probably over here. Yeah. Which in hindsight may or may not have been better for us that morning.
Yeah.
However, that next morning.
But I was glad not to take away from your story here, but I was glad to relax that afternoon and do that fishing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, man.
that was awesome.
And we talked about this before. I mean, I mentioned it just a second ago, but we do like so much just running and gunning, full effort, full throttle, that sometimes it's pretty nice to just kick back and just do something fun and easy,
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
that just chilling in the river, laughing, having a good time, you know, that's good, man. It's part of what makes weekends like this really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of plays into, you know, what we're going to get into here in a second, and you'll understand. But we're gonna make a film over this.
Yeah.
And that whole concept of like from the start there with the fishing trip, you know, a little trip down to the river there and fishing that evening. It like plays into a bigger concept that you kind of have been like, I guess, trying to grasp or trying to understand in the turkey world, in the social side of things, and just the spring hunting. Other than, I know you've done all the spring hogs, you know,
Yeah.
but that's not really like based around a camp, and it's usually kind of. I mean, we got hogs in our backyard, so it's like go out for the day and then you go back home, right?
Well, that's what around home we don't have turkeys to hunt, so when you got cabin fever in the spring, it's like, what are you going to do? And then go outside and shoot pigs, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, but like you just see like all this hype about turkey hunting, you know, on TV and social media here and there and everywhere, and it's just like I don't get it, you know, because we don't have them at home, and a lot of people that I know. And know are good people, like really get into it. And it's like, okay, so something's up with this. It's not just like some weirdos that go out there and hunt turkeys. You know, like
Yeah.
It's got to be cool. So I'm glad that we got to go and kind of experience that. And I think I came away with a little bit different, maybe not different opinion of it, but like a more learned idea of what it's all about.
Right. It was so the fishing trip and the turkey scout happened the first evening. We ended up the next morning literally at daybreak, front of the century. Like, I mean, not really, but like, you know, I mean, if it was deer season, you'd be like, holy smokes, it's 24-degree drop in
exactly.
an hour here, you know.
Like, we're going to have a wind switch 30 minutes before daylight. Like, it's going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
And nope, it was terrible because it was spring instead of fall.
Yeah.
And we went from
Turkey weather.
Well, you know how, like, I don't know what weather app everyone uses, but we use that Wonderground or whatever a lot of times, and it has a temperature like prediction for the day, and it's usually peaks and valleys, right? Well, Saturday was just a straight diagonal line down. For the warmest it ever was at midnight, and it got colder throughout the day, all the way till the next midnight. So that's a cold front, man.
Oh, it was for real. I mean, the longer that we stayed out there, it just kind of got where it was. You're at the point where you're like, we had some of these days when we were deer hunting this winter and fall, and it was like, man, it's just a miserable cold day. It's getting colder the whole day out there. You're out there dragging around trying to kill something, and you know, with deer, like you're like, things can happen. Mm-hmm. With turkeys, you start to go, well, it's getting later in the morning. The wind is blowing. It's literally gusting at 25 miles an hour. Can't hear anything really. I'm packed light because it's spring and you're not supposed to have 30-degree temperatures in Texas in the spring. And anyway, by 10 o'clock, we were both getting pretty hungry and kind of wondering what we're doing. And I think I asked you at one point, I said, dude, if we don't kill a turkey on this trip, as much of a slam dunk as we thought this was going to be, how disappointed, like scale of 1 to 10, you know?
Yeah, and I had to really understand what that 1 to 10 was.
Yeah, we had to clarify that. It wasn't like a 1 to 10 of the world's sadness, you know? It was like hunting sadness.
Yeah, the hunting scale of sadness. That's pretty good.
That's it. So, anyway, I think you gave me a 4?
Yeah, right? I think I gave you 4 or 4.5.
I was surprised at that because for you, you know, that's I feel like as positive as you are, that's pretty sad.
Yeah, well,
you know?
I want to kill a turkey, man. You know,
I understand.
And I think what was the worst part about that at that moment was the last time we really tried to kill turkeys, it was the same scenario. 2 years ago, you and I took a turkey trip to some public land and less birds, and the cold front was just as bad.
Yep.
I don't think it was quite as cold.
It was windier,
but it was
though.
windier. Like our tent blew all night long.
It hit
We
me in
didn't
the head
hardly
all
sleep.
night.
Yes, it was rough. And I don't know. I think that was why I was feeling pretty gloomy, just because I've had experiences to where it doesn't matter what level of positivity you have, if it keeps going the way it's going, it's not going to be good.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like, it'd be similar. Nobody's going to understand that. That's not a good one. It's a bass fishing thing. There will be some that understand it, but I won't go into it. But yeah, you're right, man. Like, you know, it does get kind of start to wear on you when the weather is starting to wear on you, and then your mentality
And really,
starts to go.
we were there all the way until, right before we decided to turn in for lunch. We decided to make a little hike, a little walk around, and just we can kind of cover. It's not a very big place, right? Considering, like, compared to most public land tracts. I mean, I think there was 400 acres.
So,
right?
yep, that's about right.
And we could cover a lot of the turkey country in an hour or so. So we made a big walk to go look for kind of just birds or sign or whatever. And we found a few tracks, you know, and we're kind of like, okay, this is cool. Well, kind of not spirits lifted, but like maybe just reassured that, you know what, there are at least birds here. Went back to go eat lunch, and food always makes you feel better, for one thing.
Yes.
And for two, especially when the food is really good. And that lunch was when we ate the ceviche that we had made the night before.
Yes.
And it was so good.
Let me just brag on KC for a second here.
Brag on the lime juice, dude.
Okay, well, first let me brag on Drew.
Yeah.
Drew caught like 2 5-pound hybrids that afternoon before we even got there, or we'd have been in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think those whites are a little more active during hot, sunny weather than they are in that afternoon shade, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but it's still, you know, Drew's a good fisherman. I'm not trying to say anything, but I was like, when I came down the riverbank and saw those 2 things on the stringer, I was like, golly, those are big. And so we ended up, KC cleaned them in the Brazos River, threw them in the red mud.
I didn't throw it. Drew did, and my eyes were like, oh! But it ended up fine. It washed off.
Yeah, it did. He was like, yeah, just throw it right there. And you were like, I can't. But anyway, cleaned them up, and then we took them back up to the camp house. You wash them off, cut the red meat off, and like really trimmed them up well. And I don't know, it's hard to think of a finer food, but you basically you trimmed all the meat up, put it in there, and then you cut limes and had onions and tomatoes, which were our sandwich tomatoes, because Drew bought red bell peppers and thought they were tomatoes. So we had to cut our sandwich tomatoes up. But then jalapenos, I don't know if I said that, but put it all together.
Cilantro, man. You forgot the cilantro.
Cilantro.
Oh, that is the ingredient of all ingredients.
And I'm going to use a word of yours, squoze lime juice all up in it.
Yeah, dude.
And we let it sit, and that lime juice cooks it, in case you're not familiar with what ceviche is.
It denatures it is what. So cooking is a form of denaturing,
yes,
right?
Yep.
So you rearrange the proteins. There's no heat involved.
It turns white.
Oh, it's so
and it looks like cooked fish. I mean, and you just take tortilla chips and dip a bunch. You try to get every ingredient on one chip.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And a little extra jalapenos sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was the least fishiest ceviche I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind a little fishy taste, and that hardly had any.
No.
It was so good.
It was so good. And we ate it for 2 days.
Yeah.
And we ate the whole, I mean, there was a giant cooking
It's
bowl.
like a gallon at least of ceviche.
We ate all the fish out of it.
Yes.
There was just a few veggies left in the bottom.
Yeah.
We were like, all right, we're done. And anyway, but Casey did a great job with
Thanks,
it, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks to Drew for catching the fish and you for documenting the whole thing.
Yeah, dude. So, where were we at?
That was lunch.
That was
lunch. Sandwiches, too. So let's touch on this. This is kind of silly, but I don't eat a lot of sandwiches. So sandwiches are good, man. Like when you don't eat them often, like it's not like your everyday lunch or whatever, sandwiches are tasty.
Yeah.
So sandwiches and ceviche with chips, it's pretty on par.
It was great.
We filled our bellies really nice.
That's right. You know what happens to me when I get my belly full.
It's sleepy time. And we're watching golf. So Like, don't get me wrong, I like golf on TV. It's a lot of fun to watch, but like
Drew had left.
There's just Drew had left by this time, and
so that means golf is on the TV.
Yeah, he's a semi-pro golfer, so
played for your alma mater.
Yeah, he played at A&M, man. We actually had the same coach, but I wasn't.
But you weren't a pro golfer.
No, I just took that as my phys ed. But anyways, Drew had left, so Tyler and I were just chilling. Drew had left golf on the TV, and we probably couldn't find the remote, so we just watched it. And actually, Tyler was playing a head-to-head with Roy McIlroy when we first came in, so that was like worth watching.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then some, the guys who like nobody claps for came on the TV, and so it's kind of nap time.
They're trying to make the
trying to make the big dog tour or whatever. And so I'm watching a little TV, and Tyler's snoozing real hard. I snooze for a while, and then I like wake up and look out the window. And what do I behold but 4 hens and a gobbler
you can
down the hill.
You can see well off of this. Like the ranch house is up on this bluff, and it drops down into river bottom basically from there, which is a long ways off. You can't see the river. But yeah,
and there's like a flat, like a mesquite flat down there. It's got like an old deer feeder and some stuff around, and these turkeys like love to work through this area because there's like a gravel road from the other property that tees into that little spot. I don't know. We haven't hunted it enough to really figure it out completely, but you can, like, we've learned what the turkey travel is through there.
Yep.
And they love to walk through there during the day. So I wake up and freak out a little bit, and I'm like, okay, I can't just wake Tyler up like, he's gonna be like, what's wrong? So I like walk around, and I'm trying to like evaluate if I need to wake Tyler up or not. Like, I don't know why
I start to hearing footsteps, like heavy footsteps. Like
you can tell if somebody's anxious.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, hey, there's a gobbler and some hens out there.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're lying. Nope, I'm not. So from that point, we dispatched like very hastily from the house. And in retrospect, we should have probably taken a little more time and like been ready to just stay when we did that, I believe. Or was there? Am I missing an event? Did this happen twice?
No, I think we're
that's
talking.
that's on the mark.
You're on the mark. Yep.
Okay, so did we go down there and chase those birds? Didn't get them and came back.
We went down there, and the birds had moved off. We saw which direction, so we went down there and came in from the other side of this little like mesquite flat opening, because you need an opening kind of. You don't want, I don't know, it's probably the same, probably has some similar elk hunting characteristics.
Not like the doorway kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you want the bird to see the decoy before it's like 15 yards from it, you know, if you can help that. So we went up to the opposite side of this little flat and just sat down in the best spot we could find, got the decoy out, and it was, we started calling, and did we hear him? We didn't hear him or something. I can't remember. But eventually, KC sees a bird coming, and he's like, it's a gobbler. And so he was like, isn't it? And I was like, I think so. I'll start looking at it. I can see it. It was like, little Jake.
Yeah, you could tell it was a gob, but it's like the smallest beard of a Jake I've probably ever seen.
It was very tiny.
And he was real cautious. I think he probably had been got the spurs to the chest a few times already this season or something. He was like real wary of things.
We both know what's going to happen. Like, we are not David and Harold in the matter of if a Jake comes in, it is getting smoked.
That's right.
So we're looking for some turkey meat, and he comes to. We didn't get great footage, but we got a little bit, and he comes into like a long ways out.
He was like, first place we saw him was like probably. Okay, well, I said 50, and you thought I said 15. So you were looking a much closer distance than what
I was freaked out. I was like, this dude is... He goes right behind the stump at 50 yards. And I was thinking, right behind the stump at 15, because there was a stump at 15. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I can't breathe.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that Jake kind of works in probably 5 yards, and he's cautious the whole time. And then he turned and, like, was leaving. And you were like, take that shot if you want it. And I think you were, like, saying, like, you weren't telling me to shoot, but you were saying, if you want to shoot this bird right now, go ahead.
I might have said it as if I was telling you, though.
Yeah.
But you had said that if if he starts to leave that you wanted to try to shoot.
Yeah.
And so it was communication was tough because the wind was still whipping, dude. And you're trying to be quiet, you know, and we're on two sides of a tree kind of. But yeah, I ended up.
I think he was a little far, is what ended up happening. I took the shot, and I was a little bit apprehensive, not because I was like worried about wounding the bird, because it just wasn't going to reach, but that's why I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to kill this bird at this distance.
Yeah,
especially with the wind the way it was, and it was kind of a crosswind. So I don't know, shot, and turkey flew off and didn't really even hardly act hurt.
Yeah.
So I don't even know that we found one feather, I think, right there from that bird. So I didn't hit him very hard at all. I don't know, just kind of a tough little scenario situation. We talked a lot about this in the moment where it gets tough calling, but to me, it makes a lot of sense to not put your decoy directly between you and where a bird is going to come from, because then they're going to be looking past the bird at you, like moving around,
or even just see a dark spot back there, like because they're looking pretty much at it.
Yeah, they're wary of just anything, right? Like, so they're going to be a little bit spooky whenever things like that are going on, and it doesn't take a whole lot to spook a turkey, right? Like, I don't think it actually happened to me this time, but I can remember one time when I was deer hunting in South Texas. I was up in a tripod 110 yards from my feeder, and there were turkeys at the feeder, and I like scratched my nose or something in a turkey, like, you know, it's like, golly, they can see.
They can, man.
It is so crazy. But
you ended up ranging the spot.
I think it was 60 yards, wasn't it?
57.
57.
And I mean, he was at least that. You know, like he was there. He was way out there. And so, anyway, we didn't find, you know, obviously didn't find the bird because he flew a long ways before we ever lost sight of him.
Yeah, he was getting it. So at that moment, like, it was kind of like a bittersweet kind of thing, because we're like, hey, we almost like really killed a turkey who came into the decoy.
Yeah.
So that was
cool. And we had also seen some hens there when we first showed up.
Did we?
When we first got to the ranch, we're walking to put our bags into the house, and we had seen hens in that same spot. So we were like, man, there's something here, you know, something going on. And it's right alongside this draw system where we were figuring that they were also roosting some in along this draw on these big trees, you know. So I think it was just a travel route to find turkeys as much as anything. Not to mention, like you said earlier, there's a Cleachy Road there that I think, you know, midday after they've been eating all morning, they're going to go get rocks right there and feed on small pebbles so that they can crush up their food, you know. But I got mad after that because I was like, why am I such a baby? Why did I sleep in the middle of the day? I should have been grinding it out like we always do, you know?
Yeah.
And in hindsight now, I shouldn't have been mad because we went up.
Well, let's talk about what we did before we went back to the cabin. We got out because we decided that we were going to come back there and hunt because there's something to the place. And since we had just messed it up with the shotgun shot and everything, said, okay,
you know
let's
what?
get up. What?
The Jake happened before the naps.
I thought it did.
It did.
Yeah. Remember?
It was as soon as we got back, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we took naps, and then
we saw
more birds.
More birds
down there. So I had forgotten about that. Yep.
But when we went, so just kind of mesh these all together. People.
Sorry about this, guys.
It's okay. But after we shot at the Jake, we got up and established a route in and a specific tree we wanted to sit at. And it made like all the difference in the world for the rest of our weekend of success.
Yeah.
Where we were able to like follow a dense tree line out. It's kind of a longer walk, but out and around this flat and come up like this really steep ravine to where turkeys cannot see you until you pop up right at the tree that you're going to sit on. And it's like a, 5-trunked hackberry elm mix, like not like they're hybrids, but like there's two different types of trees in this one little blob or trees or whatever. Anyways, we got all tactical on the turkeys, and it worked out for us.
It did, dude.
And it's cool because you can take things that you know just about hunting generally and be like, okay, how does this apply to a bird, right? How does this apply to turkeys? Like, how can I use this? And There's a big dark stump. We're going to be 2 big dark things up underneath there. So it's not like it's going to look out of place like it would in other places. Like where we're, for instance, with that Jake, I kind of was just sitting out in the open because I kind of was just stuck right there because we're trying to call turkeys in. But anyways, so interject the story that we told earlier to now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all that sleeping happened. I woke Tyler up. Then we snuck down there, and
And this was so you had seen several hens and a gob at this time.
Yeah, who was strutting.
Yeah.
When I woke up, he was full strut down there in this flat. You know, it's just like, oh my goodness.
We were juiced up. He goes. As soon as I woke up, he was like, "There's a strutter down there right now." He was like, "Look." I was like, "You were lying," and I sat up and looked down there. He was there. You know, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is great." So we end up key points that you make there because we end up taking this kind of long way around, like we had planned on, and coming up that draw to the base of the trees that we wanted to sit beside. Mm-hmm. And that draw was like a key factor in what happened next, because as soon as we kind of popped out of the draw, you see turkeys at like, I don't know, 60 yards or whatever.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh.
As soon as we pop out and we start setting up, there's turkeys right there.
Yes.
And so
across the fence over there.
Yeah.
So this place that we're hunting right here is probably, 30 yards from the property line or something like that, right? Like where we're set up, and we're actually going to shoot turkeys further over onto our place. But there is a fence between us, and these turkeys, I do see, I think I caught a hen. She saw me, like, did the whole, like, not freak out and run away, but, like, got real nervous and moved.
Start moving her head.
And she never, like, balked, or whatever they call it. That's the bad noise.
Yes.
It's like an elk bark, which some guy on YouTube told me, educated me on that the other day.
That's a good thing to know, man. I'm glad he told you that.
That means that the elk found you, if you didn't know that.
In case you didn't know that once that elk ran off, now you do.
Anyways, so ends up we spot one, maybe 2 gobblers with those hens, and they're just like working back and forth all up in this like cedary, hackberry thicket stuff up on the side of this hill. And we're calling to them, and the gobblers are wanting to come to us, but those hens are still with them, and they won't leave. And finally, they moved off. I mean, we probably did that little exchange for 30 minutes, and, like, you did a couple belly crawls to try to get a decoy out for them and stuff. And
he came back at one point and was dogging one of those hens or something.
Oh, my gosh, like, their head was so crimson.
Yeah.
And that's, like, what you could see through the brush. It was, like, just a little red dot popping around. It wasn't a red bird either, probably.
It was awesome, dude. I mean, and we were pretty juiced up. Well, they move off, and so we're like, well, it's still early afternoon. I think it's probably like maybe 3 o'clock or something like that. And we're like, okay, well, we're just gonna sit here because this is obviously a travel route, from basically through this kind of draw system to the other property, up through these caliche roads and on to wherever that property goes. And so we sit there a little bit longer. We kind of hit the Yelp every 10 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes, and we've been sitting there how long?
It was probably 45 minutes after those turkeys left. I think it was. I think I shot. Well, it was like 4 o'clock, I believe.
Yeah. And so you are like, all of a sudden you're like, because we're set up expecting that maybe this gobbler will come back, knowing that he heard stuff and he'll get tired and disinterested with these hens that won't do what he wants them to. And anyway, we're sitting there and you're like, there's turkeys coming down the road over there, and I couldn't see him. And he goes, it's a tom. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I guess you can tell what you were seeing at that moment. I mean, did he strut like right off the bat?
No, what happened was, okay, so you had commented after this on my ability to stay calm when I see turkeys. And that's true. I kind of hold it together, but I can remember, because this is like the first time that I've had a tom come in, right? Like legit, like full-grown Turk. I remember saying, turkey's coming down the road. And then I said, it's a gobbler. Like I did it twice. Yeah. I mean, the way I was identifying it is I could see that beard dangle at that distance. And I'd be like, that's how I remember that one.
Dude.
He kind of came up on this little rise, and I saw his beard dangle, and his head was red. And he like did a little sideways head cock thing, and I was like, whoa. So,
Dude, there's something, Casey has like this way of saying, like there are turkeys coming, or I see turkeys, that's like so conversational that it takes me like a good 3 seconds to actually register that there are turkeys coming. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just like, at one point, when the Jake came in, you were like, you said something like, "What if those birds right there? There's a turkey coming." it was like in the middle of the sentence, and you just kept on with that same like attitude of what you were saying, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, it took me like 5 seconds to realize, and then I was like, "How far?" And you're like 50, and I thought it was 15. So at that point, it was a debacle. But
the same thing happened with this bird, except it was the inverse of that.
yeah,
I said, because like he's on the other property, right? And there's a road through there that they'd kind of pushed up some berms next to, and I said, he's right by the red dirt on that hill, and well, behind this other bush thing that I can't see, there is another red dirt hill,
like another 30 or 40 yards
30 or 40
away.
yards behind it, and the same bush thing is covering my red dirt hill from Tyler. So we're both looking at different red dirt hills, and I'm like, this turkey's getting close.
I'm
and
kinda
Tyler's just like,
chilling.
"Where's it at? I can't see
I'm
it
like
anywhere.
craning
I don't know
my
where it's
neck."
at." Yeah. and then like, I couldn't see the turkey either because he'd gone behind that, and I was worried he was like moving around us or something. No, he was behind that red dirt hill. He came up, saw our decoy, and kind of like got like all Twitter-pated, and hopped back down and started strutting right there. And then all of a sudden, I just see the tips of his fan come out from behind the red thing, and I was like, "It's happening, boys! It's
Dude,
happening!"
and it was
And I think
on.
you finally saw him about that time too, and then you were like, "Oh shoot, he's right there!"
Yeah, it was like 35 yards.
Yeah,
And so he starts, you know, kind of coming out from there, and we're both able to see him. And it took how long, dude, to get across the fence?
It was 7 hours in turkey time. I don't know. For him to cross the fence, I guarantee you, it was at least 10 minutes.
Dude, it was. What was hilarious is like knowing that this is the first time you really ever had a spring gobbler come in on you like
Yeah.
this. What you said was hilarious to me. Like, because we're sitting there and it's been like 5 minutes and this turkey has moved like hardly at all. And you're like, he's moving like 1 yard a minute. And I was like, just started laughing. I was like, dude, this is like epic for your first. I mean, my first gobbler ran in. I got to see him for all of, you know, about 4 seconds before it was time to shoot.
Yeah.
But this one gave us the show.
Oh my
from
gosh!
like 35
and he's strutting
yards.
the whole time, like, and it's kind of windy, and you could hear it better than I could, I think. But he was doing the whole drum and spit, and
Yeah.
finally he worked. When we first saw him, he was 7 yards, 8 yards from the fence, right? And he finally crosses underneath the fence, and that's when it's like, oh, safety click, dink.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like, oh,
Yeah.
and he's in range at that point in time.
Yeah.
Like he's like 35 yards or closer, but there's some brush, and we're trying to get film, right? We're trying to get
Yeah.
footage. And he kind of like ends up actually working closer to us than I thought he was going to. So then it's like a whole new level of like anxiety,
Yeah.
where now I have to really stay real still because this turkey's 20 yards away. What are we
Yeah.
gonna do? And
He got close to some greenbriers there,
yes.
and that was like it was like a jail almost. It like
Yeah.
held him there for forever.
Well, we were thinking that, but ends up he finally. I whispered to Tyler, said he's gonna take. Then when he takes 3 yards further, I'm gonna shoot. Right.
Yeah.
Well, it took. Without exaggeration, 5 to 7 minutes for him to do that. He's just sitting here strutting in this one place behind this greenbrier, and then we see him
it's
go.
probably like 15 yards from our decoy or a little more, maybe.
Yeah, and he's like 22 from us, right, or something like that.
26, I think.
26, okay.
Yep.
And finally, he goes up and then back down, and we're like, oh, there was something in the way.
Yeah.
And he was just hung up behind what ended up being a big log.
I knew
but
as soon
it was
as
really cool.
I was running low on battery on my camera, and so I was having to I had been filming for like 20 minutes or more, and my batteries on my camera, it's a whole other story, but driving me crazy. But they're like, I'm starting to really dwindle on this battery, and I'm literally watching it go down 1%, like every 30 seconds. And I'm like, dadgummit. So I had to turn my camera off like 3 different times. So finally, when he goes up on that log that we saw him go up on, that's when I knew it's about to happen. It's about to go down.
But what was cool is that he like went up there and was full strut up on top of this log.
Yeah.
It was, and then like he like in full strut steps down, and that's when I think you said you can shoot him right there or something like that.
Yeah, like I'm ready.
And yeah, that's when it went down. And I ended up actually not shooting him like dead on as I would have hoped to. I hit him a little bit more body, but got a few pellets in his head. Mm-hmm. I think it could have been, we talked about it could have been the wind or something, or it might have just been me aiming a little bit too far back, or I don't know. But what was really neat is you filmed it in 120 frames per second, and at 120 frames per second, you can straight up see the pattern.
You can see the pattern,
it
dude.
Is like, you can see the pellets going through the air into the bird. Oh, it's cool.
It is, dude. It was. Oh, I not one time did I get to the point where I was like shaking until right after you pulled the trigger, and I was like shaking so bad.
I forgot to mention this. I pulled the trigger and nothing happened the first time. I squeeze the trigger and like, I don't care who you are. All right, you can stand on your high and mighty box, or you can really admit it. You flinch a little bit, especially with shotguns with 3.5-inch magnums when you pull the trigger, and it's okay on shotgun, right? Like you're not. It's not about accuracy as much, and I like do that little like flinch thing, like brace for the shot, really, and nothing happens. And
I'm sitting there filming, and like he's in the hole. Like the hole is not very big, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I had told him, you can shoot him whenever, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure he just pulled the trigger, but I'm not 100%.
yeah. But then, like, I don't know. I didn't, like, full rack my shotgun, but I pushed the slide forward some with my left hand and squoze off, and that's where he died. And that might be why I hit him a little far back, because I was a little bit panicked and moving around a little bit. But either way, he flopped.
Couldn't stop the flop.
Nah, got him down, dude, and I was like... It was just like a moment of elation. It was like, dude, we just really did it. Like, and I know if you live in a turkey state or you hunt turkeys often, maybe you don't understand that, and that's okay. I would really love to be able to do this more, but for me, like, that was a monumental thing. Like, I don't care how big the bird is, how old it is, whatever. It was awesome that it was a big mature tom. But, like, I've never done that. I'm 30 years old and have tried a lot. Mm-hmm. Not, like, every season, but tried multiple times throughout my life to make that happen. And just, man, dude, so cool when I've done it
a handful of times, and it's not easy. Like, it just, I don't know. You got to, it all boils down to, like, you got to be on a property that the turkeys are on that morning, and you got to be in a spot where they want to work through and hope that, like, I just feel like with deer, they're more widespread. It feels like all your turkeys in a lot of places, they're going to be on the guy with the river bottom. Mm-hmm. Whereas you could be in a kind of subpar spot with deer, and you're at least going to see some deer that morning, maybe, With turkeys, it could be a whole different thing. So it is, man. It's a big deal, man. And congratulations.
Thanks,
I already told you that.
Thanks for the help, dude.
Oh, it was... I was literally shaking after you pulled the trigger. I was so happy, and just like... It's almost one of the things you feel like you held your breath for 30 minutes,
Yeah. And he definitely gave me the right kind of initiation to where it was like so drawn out and dramatic, Like if a bird had just ran in and just stuck his head up and me shot him, yes, I'd have been stoked, but this was just a different kind of thing. It was cool. And what else was cool is that we did this all with mouth calls, like no diaphragms, nothing, just the sound of your voice, that was fun. I've worked on my turkey call my whole life because it's something that's just kind of fun to do.
It is fun, man.
And
I was thinking at one point it just hit me, like, sometimes you just have this like thing that just kind of tickles you, man. And I was sitting there thinking, dude, we are two grown men out in the woods making the highest pitches with our voices we possibly can.
Yeah.
So we had a blast, and we won't go into the rest of the story because we're going to work this film up pretty quick and get it out and let you guys give us some thoughts on it and maybe let us know what a turkey being spooked sounds like. But we did have more success throughout the rest of the trip and some dirty footage.
Oh.
And so it's going to be released hopefully pretty soon. I got a pretty busy week coming up, but we're going to do the best we can to kind of work that out pretty quick and keep it during turkey season when you're thinking about it and you maybe you'll, go, man, I wish I was those guys for once. But I'm excited about it, and we had a blast. We got some unbelievable pictures. Turkeys are just photographic, man, because they're extremely beautiful and ugly nasty at the same time.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Like, it is weird.
Turkey's head is a funny, weird thing, man.
It is. I don't like touching them.
Do you not?
Mm-mm.
It reminds me a lot of cold deer tallow. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's it's kind of like that a little bit. I don't know. They're an interesting critter, dude.
They are.
Like, another thing I found out is that each turkey, like when you look at them for 40 yards, they look like the same bird. You can tell males and females. But then when you get close, man, there's a lot of individuality to a turkey.
There is.
Different colors, different things on their feathers. Well, not to give away too much, there may have been another turkey, right? And one of them had like a really weird toe. You know, like
you pointed out a lot. You're just more observant than me on detailed stuff like that. But like, you pointed out a lot of pretty cool stuff. Like, for instance, another turkey that we saw, maybe really close up, had two, or maybe this was your turkey, had two tail feathers. The very middle tail feathers didn't have a bar that the rest of them had.
Yeah, they were just like solid, that brown mold.
Brown, yeah. So anyway, super cool, man. I'm stoked. We are on the way home now, so of course there's a little bit of drag going on.
Yeah, and we decided to get on this podcast pretty quick. That way, A, we weren't too sleepy to do it, and B, just because it's fresh in our minds. As soon as we left the gate of the property, Tyler was like wanting to like just rehash it. It was like, dude, just whip out the headphones and let's do this thing right now.
It was so epic. Like we'll probably do like a little quick turkey special whenever we release the film, just to kind of tell the rest of the story on the podcast.
Yeah,
for those
sure.
of you who don't
That's
get
a good
to see.
idea.
But there was some really cool moments, especially this morning again, and like overall for you, like.
I've still got sticks in my hair, by the way, I'm pulling out.
I finally got a shower this morning. So, you came in with a certain kind of thought about the things, and you said that you might have changed some of your thinking. What exactly you mean by that, I guess?
Like, I get it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's not like I looked down on people for really liking the turkey hunting, but it's just not something I understood, And we were talking about this before we left. Look at all them Canadian geese.
Yeah.
We were talking about this Canada geese. Sorry.
I didn't want to correct you. But
Sorry, Luke.
I knew there was somebody that might listen that would. You had the most epic. I don't know what you call that in a nice way, but you had the most epic verbal battle with him.
Yeah. No, it was in a friendly way.
It was, yeah. You got him pretty good.
Yeah, I did. I got that dude.
It's he's a good dude.
Yeah, but so back to the turkeys and like trying to understand like the concept of like traditional turkey hunting. I told you, it's a lot like European soccer because so many people go crazy about it. There can't be that many people wrong, right? There are that many people who just like are just so off track with what's cool. And I went to Costa Rica for a high school trip, like a biology trip, in the summer before my senior year, and it was the World Cup. And it was the first time Costa Rica, I think, had ever made the World Cup, maybe in a really long time. I don't know. But, like, the whole country was going nuts about soccer. And, like, I finally kind of got it whenever I was down there for it. And that's kind of what this was for me. Like, I finally understand what it's about. There's not, like, a crazy trophy to walk away with. There's no, like... with whitetails, like, there's always this incremental scale of inches, and, like, there's 140 class, and there's 160 class, and so on and so forth, and there's dudes somewhere that you'll never get to hunt killing 200s, whatever. Well, there's nobody out there that's, like, killing turkeys with 18-inch beards that, you'll just dream of and never be able to do it, right? Like, all the big ones are kind of about the same.
Yeah.
So it's not about the trophy much at all, but at the same time it is. It's just that the trophy's so much more attainable.
Yeah.
And...
it's kind of a realistic kind of a every man's kind of game, you know?
It lets you kind of concentrate on the other stuff, which we get that with whitetail sometimes, especially since we have done like the ground game thing, rattling and all that kind of stuff. But turkeys is just that. It's about the call in, and it's about like the experience of the bird coming in, and then sharing it with somebody. Like I can't imagine doing that by myself and it being near the fun that it is doing it with somebody else, and then having camp to go back to and talk about it with somebody else. You know, like that camaraderie aspect, I think in turkey hunting is probably one of the biggest like times I've felt that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it started with fishing the Brazos River,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, and it ends with us fist bumping this morning, you know?
Yeah.
And like, and that's another thing is like, you don't see many guys go like, oh, I'm a solo turkey hunter, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about that. And whereas like, there's a ton of guys that hunt by themselves for whitetails because two people moving around and smelling and everything like that is twice the amount of noise and everything else going on. So,
and along with that, the trophy aspect. A lot of times, there's a lot of greed involved with whitetails.
Yeah.
And sharing a stand with somebody, you know, it's kind of hard to give up the shooter position.
Right.
You know, with turkeys, it's like, yeah, man. I mean, I shot more than you did this weekend, but you've killed a few more turkeys than me, and I'm kind of green and excited. You know, and not that you weren't excited, but like.
I was just taking it in, dude. It was so awesome, man.
And really, like, I got to film some too. And like, dude, laying down epic footage is just, it's so cool.
It's so like it makes you so proud of yourself.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
But dude, and another point I was going to make as to what you're saying, like with the Costa Rica thing, and you finally understood it. I feel like that sometimes if you see something that everybody's freaking out about, that taking a look, kind of diving in and seeing what the hype is about, and like going, this is pretty cool. Like
I did that with that kombucha tea on the way here.
yeah. Like, I mean, there's something. Okay, so we talked to John recently on the podcast, and we remember like when we got off, we were like, that dude is hype, dude.
Oh, John Lusk, yeah.
And so, like, I'm thinking that just hype people. So, like they say, laughter is contagious. Yawning is contagious. Like, people doing things are contagious. So people doing fun things with other people, you know, and enjoying time outside like that, man. Like you said, the camaraderie aspect and just being hyped, man, about that. Maybe that's part of the fun too. Like, hype creates hype, you know?
I think 100%, man. Like, here's the thing. I think if we'd have just shot jakes all weekend, we'd be just as hyped.
Oh, yeah, I guarantee you, dude.
And that's the cool part, is it's just a really fun thing to do.
It is.
You know?
There's hardly anything better than, like, the last 20 yards of a turkey strutting in.
Ooh.
That is just too cool, man.
Ooh.
Too cool.
Whenever, I don't know, dude, whenever they, like, just crumple, not in, like, the gruesome way.
Are you talking about, like, this morning?
Yeah. in like the it's over way. It's like, oh my goodness. It's like how is this described? Like, there's a huge buildup, and then all of a sudden it's just like the cord is severed.
Okay. You're hitting on something that I've always thought, and I was wanting to wrap this up, but I'm gonna keep
All right,
on here.
let's roll with it.
Okay, so the people, you know, like the challenge in turkey hunting is a lot of times it's, you know, the calling. You've got the calling. You've got the which I guess people say Easterns are harder than Rios. I don't know. Maybe they're right. They're all kind of turkeys, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge is either calling. It is. It could be like shooting a tom over a Jake or a big beard or whatever, big spurs, or like a lot of people like weapon of choice. So like bow would be more difficult than shotgun, right?
Yeah.
But I've filmed a guy shoot turkeys with a bow, shoot at them at least, and hit them not in deadly spots too, and there's just something about, like what you're saying, that shotgun being such an abrupt break to like birds making noises and stuff. And it's just like, it's like a moment it's over. Like one moment it's over. It's either over or it's not. You know what I mean? And with a bow, it's like I'm going to shoot and then he's going to run off a little bit and then he's going to, a lot of times. And there's just something about like that I like, and I'm a bow hunter to the core with a lot of things, but there is something about a shotgun just breaking the silence of a nice, beautiful morning like this morning with no wind and just quiet, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, at that moment if it's over or not.
This is kind of maybe a weird way to put it, but have you ever been like in church and the preacher's reading like a really compelling scripture, and then like somebody closes the Bible hard like that or whatever? That's kind of what it's like that I don't know, like that finish of that was it, you know, like that's the closing right there.
As opposed to like what a bow would be the preacher not saying a prayer, but everybody kind of thinks that they've been released.
Now?
Like,
Yeah.
are we released or yeah. Anyway, I just thought I would say I've always thought that. I told my dad that like years and years ago after I'd shot a turkey. I was like, you know what, like bow hunting would be cool on these things, but there's just something about when that shotgun goes off and just hopping up and running out there, man, that's like, you know, that's just cool, man. I don't know what it's hard to explain, but
yeah,
it's super cool. You know what, man? We have been kind of running a contest. It's been kind of on the deal. We haven't said a whole lot about it, but on the podcast every once in a while. But for an OnX premium membership for the next year, and that is by commenting on our On Fire film, and we have a winner.
Ooh,
we have decided that we have a winner, and man, there wasn't a whole lot of comments. I mean, I guess you guys just aren't really duck hunters, but that's fine. So the guys that put in for this thing or that commented on it stood a pretty good chance. So, do you want to give us the honor of reading? Or of revealing oh my goodness, I can't talk. Of who won the OnX Premium membership?
that is one Chase Prince.
Chase Prince.
Congrats,
dude. So you have won it. Make sure and send us an email through the website, or just get in touch with us with a DM on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and we will send that your way, man.
That's right. And speaking of YouTube, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel and be following along this week, because we might have 2 legit things dropped this week, right?
Yeah.
We've got a shed hunting film.
I'm thinking that by the time you listen to this, the shed hunting film will be live.
Yeah, so go watch that right now.
Yeah.
Not too fast.
Just a couple minutes.
Just like
here.
listening to the end of this and then go. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, go watch the shed hunting thing. It's probably not going to be super cinematic or anything. It's just like us having fun, running around like crazy.
Finding deadheads.
Yeah, finding a bunch of those. And then, kind of contrasting to that, this is going to be probably a pretty cinematic production of turkey hunting.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of slow-mos, a lot of epic stuff.
Yeah, Casey had a good idea, man, because we wanted to do the cinematic turkey thing a little bit. You know, it's just I've been kind of itching to kind of do the artsy side of production.
That's kind of near to your heart, though, right? That's like what you really like. Like
exactly.
The vlog thing is kind of easier to put together, and it works really good for deer hunting season when we go on 36 deer hunts, right?
Yeah.
But man, there's something to like slowing down and really getting some great shots.
Yeah, I just feel like it does a lot of justice to the animal and nature and outdoors and tradition that we might have and these things. And so anyway, Casey had a good idea to do it that way, and that's what we did. And I think there's some beautiful shots, including, or if not to just completely say, the one this morning was epic.
So it's so cool.
I don't even know how we're going to show that except for in replay like 400 times. But anyway, thanks guys for listening. If you're on the front end of turkey season, man, I wish you luck. And if you're done with turkeys or you're not going to do turkeys, then you need to go fishing, and I wish you luck in that as well. So anyway, thanks for listening. Catch us here in the next few days on another podcast. God bless you guys, and remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.